Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm really thrilled to share today's conversation with you. This lovely, lovely woman, Rebecca Chapman, is someone who I've only known online until today when we were face to face for our conversation, but she has been such an encouragement to me. She responds to my emails, hint, hint. She gives me great advice. She sends me emails from other companies or farms or just anyone doing something fun that she thinks would be a benefit to me. She's just a really delightful woman, and she is about to do a Château life residency at Chateau de Bosgouet. So I know that's what a lot of you want to do as well. So I thought she would be a great person to connect with. She is really so passionate about taking the learnings that she has had in her life and using them to encourage and mentor others. So she is our wise sage from the future. And she is really just such a delight. So she also has a very fancy resume. So another reason why we should listen to her. She's done so many amazing things, and I'm just going to give you a summary of her career, which is what she sent to me. She's an experienced advancement executive with over 40 years of achievement in leading development, public affairs, and alumni affairs programs for academic, healthcare, civic, and conservation organizations. She's successfully organized and led multi-million-dollar campaigns for funding capital and annual projects, extensive experience in healthcare, academic, and nonprofit organizations. Her background includes state and federal lobbying, university teaching, proposal writing, position papers, campaign, literature, publications, and corporate annual reports. She's an effective leader and team builder with proven ability to mobilize resources and achieve measurable results. She has excellent skills in planning, developing, implementing, and stewarding annual fundraising programs, capital campaigns, communications, news bureau, and special events. She's been honored with national awards for outstanding fundraising and alumni programs. She has a doctorate. She's lived a fabulous, amazing life. She's about to celebrate her 60th wedding anniversary. Boy, can I learn a lot from this fabulous woman. And I hope that you also have a few nuggets as a result of this conversation. So sit back and enjoy our latest episode with Rebecca Chapman. Rebecca Chapman, I am so excited to have this conversation and get to know you a little bit better as our listeners get to know you as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Delighted, Wendy. Thank you for asking.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. So, listeners, I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. I'm sure Rebecca would get to this eventually, but she is about to live our collective best French life. She is going to be doing a Château life residency at Chateau de Bosgouet in just a few weeks' time. And I think that I am not the only one that loves to know how somebody gets to that particular beautiful moment and that beautiful yes to themselves.
Well, it's a little bit of a journey, certainly. But Wendy, you were certainly an inspiration. Somehow I was noodling around on Instagram and I found you. And you were so upbeat. And I think you were kind of at the very beginning of, saying yes, even to yourself.
Yes.
And so I am, really happy, as I've told you, to see your evolution. And, I'm on the other side of your evolution. And so I think sometimes it's nice to have a buddy who's been there and who can offer a few tips about the bumps, the challenges, and having had a corporate and an academic life, one of my mentors said, make sure you always leave more on the table than you've taken away. So this is my opportunity to do a little, giving you things, that have worked. And I've done this certainly along my over 40-year career, really. So I hope that you'll gain some insight, and I'll be real honest. It's not all, a bed of roses, that's for sure, but it's been great. And so it's so exciting to be at this place and to be able to be off the grid for a while and be in the landscape of the most beautiful city in the world, and also going to a beautiful, beautiful countryside and enjoying it. I've earned it. At this stage, you might say, I have enough, I've done enough, I am enough. So this is the treat. This is the continuation of saying yes.
Oh, Rebecca, all of that is so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you. I know I've thanked you in email form, but your consistent encouragement of me and my efforts and suggestions that you've had, and different companies or newsletters that you forwarded to me that you think I could glean some information or inspiration from, has just been so welcomed and so appreciated. Thank you so much for the way that you have incorporated those gorgeous words from your mentor, and you have I'm sure you've done this for more than me, that you really do take thoughtful, inspired action, and it is gratefully received.
Well, it is my pleasure. It's my pleasure, and it's a lot of fun, and I think it's sort of an obligation. I certainly had people along the way that helped me, and I will continue to be in that tradition too. So happy to do it.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be the recipient. So you mentioned your long career. I'd love to hear just how are you saying yes in this season, and how has that yes been influenced by your career and what you've gleaned, and how you want to enjoy your days going forward?
Well, I think, Wendy, travel is the great equalizer. You not only learn from books, personal experiences, But you really learn when you get yourself out there and you travel, and it can be a little daunting because I remember the first time I went to the south of France and I had a large suitcase and I was at the train station and I couldn't carry this darn suitcase. But there were some young men there that looked like those old movies that Humphrey Bogart was in with the French Foreign Legion and with the hats. And I said, oh, well, they're there to help people. So didn't I go to a couple of those young men and got them to carry my bags? They were only so happy to not only do that, but get me to the right place where I was definitely off on an adventure about 15 years ago. So that was quite fun. That was a lot of fun.
That.
So now is the time too. I mean, it's a serious time in the world. And I think people are realizing that, it's never too late. And I feel, I'm at the Jane Fonda era of my life. And, I'm still going.
Yes, you are.
My college roommate from the University of Michigan and I have kept in touch ever since we pledged. And so this is going to be also a little journey of friendship. When you've, lived as long as we have, you've not only got the challenges, you've got the disappointments, you've got, the sadness, you've got great happiness and joy. You've made some wonderful friends. And the reality is friends drop away in your life too. And sometimes you need to do that. Like you have pointed out, you only want to surround yourself with people who are really going to, uplift you. And so sometimes you do have to say goodbye to those friendships. But I have to say that the most important safety net or blanket that you have are many of those old friendships that you've had. And, you have to nurture it. It doesn't come to you. If you don't pick up the phone doesn't ring. If you don't ask your friend to go grocery shopping with you on Sundays, like I did with my roommate, it doesn't happen. You learn more at the grocery store, little shopping outings, than you do, on going shopping at the mall, so to speak. But it is a discipline, Wendy, and it's a discipline like getting an undergraduate degree, going on, getting advanced degrees, entry level in your career, disappointments that you have, maybe getting laid off, fired. But each time, you really have to get up and keep going. And you're your own best cheerleader, Wendy. You have to do it for yourself. So those are some tips that I would give people, because I've listened to some of your podcasts. And, there are a lot of people, a lot of young women, 30-ish, 40-ish, who are still, really in that zone of not sure where to go. And of course, Robert Frost and The Road Not Taken. My advice always is to take that road not taken, because that leads to some wonderful experiences. It really does. And you have to be adventuresome. And people feel that in you. But it's hard work. You got to do your homework. You got to exercise every day, Wendy. You got to eat good food. You got to watch your weight. You got to go to the doctors and get all your physicals and your mammographies. And you have to do all of that. That's part of the package. Because if you don't feel good, you're not going to be able to want to venture out. But it's sort of a little bit like what Fernando Lamas used to say. It's better to look good than feel good. So you need to have a little bit of a balance there. Absolutely. And
You're so wise. I don't even want to speak. I just want you to keep going. This is so beautiful. I'm drinking it all in. Keep going.
I have been very lucky. I mean, I met my husband in high school. I went to his prom. He went to my prom, and we'll be celebrating 60 years in December.
Congratulations.
Doesn't that show that I have extraordinary human skills?
Yes, it does, ma'am. Yes, it does.
That's what a corporate executive said to me from General Motors, and he looked at my resume and he looked how long I'd been married, and he said, "You have extraordinary human skills." So I've never forgotten that sentence, that's for sure. But it really is, we went through the Vietnam War. I worked, was a Carnegie Fellow, and when I got out of Michigan, I didn't want to go to the junior league. I'd been, in a sorority, and our 60s generation really, at that time, we wanted to kind of save the world. And we had a lot of things that were going on, and it was very exciting to work in the inner city of Detroit. I taught high school, and it was a wonderful career. It allowed me also to work in the day and go to Wayne State University at night. My husband did the same thing. He had a full-time job, and he went to law school at night, 5 nights a week. And it took us a long time and a lot of tuition to earn. I got my doctorate, he got his law degree. But one thing my husband, unlike many of my friends, Wendy, Ron said, "You're not putting me through law school. This is a team effort." I had my job, he had his job, and we were really equal partners at the very beginning of this experiment. So that's made a lot of difference. And I remember just before we got married, and I won't go into the details of how I kept him out of the Vietnam War, but I did.
That might be another episode, friends.
Definitely. He said, and I was, I think, 20, 21 at the time, "Don't live your life through me." And I think that's one of the things that separates the 60s, 70s, and 80s girls from current. I mean, women now are not living their lives through their husbands. You've got to be independent. I saw my mother, I never knew the term single mother, Wendy. My mother was a single mother, but nobody used that term. My father was killed in a plane crash, and when I was 9 years old, I saw how difficult it was for her, struggling with 2 young children. She didn't have an education that would afford a particularly good lifestyle. And I knew at a very, very young age, whether it was a crash or a blonde, I was going to be able to take care of myself and my children.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's some real hard, basic advice I give. And you can pick up that slack. You don't have to be, 20 or 30. You can recognize that on that less traveled road that you're going to take. And that will make all the difference. And, my husband said the best thing that ever happened was women's lib, because men didn't have to share, they didn't have to be the whole breadwinner.
Right.
They didn't have to have the total responsibility.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And, nothing is equal. It's not linear, as I have said to you. Sometimes your career is going great. Sometimes it isn't, for both husband and wife or partners. So you really have to, as Oprah says, expect the unexpected. So those are things that, those are things your mother tells you, by the way. They're common. But sometimes we forget those, Wendy. We really do. And so those are just little pass-alongs that sometimes you have to sit back and really think about and think hard about it. But, it's also nice to have earned being off the grid. I was saying to my rector yesterday at church, I said, I have led a purposeful life all my life. Mm-hmm. I'm going to France for a month, and I'm going to drink champagne and cross my legs and enjoy the view.
That's right. That's what I'm doing.
Good, Wendy.
Oh, great. I love that.
Absolutely. So and you're continuing to do that. And I think it's great that you're taking other women with you. I love the fact that you are making your home your business. I think that's fantastic. I think doing seminars are really going to, I think they're going to really enhance what you're doing. I will take umbrage with what I want for the next 30 years. Well, I don't have 30 years. And if you're in corporate America, nobody makes a plan for 30 years. We don't even have the 5-year strategic plan anymore. We have the 3-year strategic plan. And when I do consulting, and I guess my title is strategic whisperer.
That's a good one.
Absolutely. And that parallels to your life. I learned when I was at Ford Motor Company from my boss, if you can't write the plans down, you can't do them. You really have to discipline yourself to, and I think you've been an advocate of that. If you have a vision, if you have ideas, you really have to take pen to paper or the back side of an envelope. And you're gonna make adjustments, certainly along the way. But you really that discipline of your education, writing it down. And then what you're going to do, you're going to work that plan. And that's what you've been doing, Wendy. You've been working your plan. That's and right. I'm sure some of the things that you've been doing may not have been as successful as you wanted, but you're going to tweak it and you're going to try something else. And Wendy, remember one thing too. Everything isn't monetized. Everything doesn't have to be monetized. It's the things that build on your your personal strategic plan that will make you be successful. So I think, again, as I said, it isn't just about monetizing the plan, although that's the bottom line. And if you don't set a goal for what you hope to make at the end of the year or the end of 6 months, then it won't happen.
Right.
It won't, because the plan, as well as, what you feel the realistic monetary return will be, you have to monitor it along the way. And if it's falling short, well, then you have to pick up the slack on something. Oh, so those are just really basics. But I mean, I can see you doing a 12-month plan, and as long as you have it on the computer, you can update it, you can cross it off, all of those things. And you put in there, you need a facial. Oh, I'm getting a haircut, or I'm going to try a red lipstick this week and a red nail polish. Certainly every Friday we have a new cocktail.
Yes.
So again, that's part of your brand. You're building your brand. And you're taking mothers with their daughters to France. Well, 5 years ago, I took my adult son to Paris, and his wife and my grandson said, "Oh, that's fine." Well, we had a ball in Paris. And of course, and he was in his early 40s. And of course, we used the metro. We went all over the place. We went to all of the museums. He smoked cigarettes when he wasn't supposed to.
He carried your luggage.
Certainly did. We had a great time together. So I think what you're doing, taking daughters, sons, because I know that Karen Allen has taken her grandson.
Yes.
I think it's all wonderful, but taking going with best friends is good, because by the end of the trip, they're going to be your best friends, Wendy.
That's right.
That's for sure. So I'm excited for you. And I'm sure one of these trips, or one of the times I go to the Cape all the time, so it's not that far from Bolton. So
we can connect.
Yes, absolutely. So get those French magazines out and look at the old Vogues. And I've been reading Annie Ernaux, who I've now read 5 of her books.
Okay.
She was introduced actually by Jane and the book club, and she was the Nobel Prize winner of literature last year, and she's French, and she would be in my peer group. So I've gotten some good ideas from reading her very autobiographical books. So again, that's part of your roadmap, is educating yourself. And the history that she puts in between the lines is very, very valuable. And so I would recommend the book club, and I hope to be able to go to the book club.
I'm sure you will. You'll be there for a month.
Yeah. So that should be fine. And I can't wait to do some cooking. But I have cooked for over 50 years, Wendy, and I don't need a lot of lessons anymore. Right? So I told Jane I do dishes. I will help prep. So I'm excited about that. I have a garden hat to work out in the garden,
Perfect.
Which I plan to do.
It's a beautiful, beautiful space.
Yes. And I'm really, we will make our bed every morning.
As we do.
And Donna and I were always, my roommate, were always the first ones in the sorority house down with Juanita having our breakfast made for us. And the two of us were not from wealthy families at all, but we had our plan. She went on and she went to law school. She got her law degree. And of course, I went on and got my doctorate, and I've taught all over the United States, starting out in Motown. I mean, I knew Marvin Gaye when he called me Becky.
Wow.
Our school was right next door to Motown. So those are really great memories. And I had, I worked during the riots in Detroit. That was quite an experience, but it all adds to the journey. And you are what you are because of all of those things.
Right.
And, you are not who you are, Wendy, by where you are. Remember that. You're not who you are by where you are, because at some point you won't be there, and you take yourself with you wherever you go.
That's right.
And really, you don't you again, I learned from this great General Motors executive, don't get your self-worth from your job. I did that for a long time. I mean, what do you say at a cocktail party if you don't have something that's really interesting, or you think is interesting? But if you get your self-worth just from your career, you're really losing out a lot. And I think you know that.
I do, and I agree wholeheartedly.
A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. So again, that's a little bit of advice here.
It's so good. You've had a life well lived, and you're very generous with sharing so much of that, of lessons learned, but also using your intuition and past experience and putting that together and being an encouragement.
Right. And, you don't have to be an extrovert. I think you've become an extrovert in many ways. You were a little quieter, but you really are very effervescent. But you don't have to be on all the time. You can have the softer side of Wendy too, that doesn't have to be, exuberant all the time.
I don't know. I'm just like a bottle of champagne, friend. There are a lot of bubbles in there, and I have a lot of joy, and I am really living in so much gratitude. In fact, where I sit when I record these episodes, I'm right in front of a window and I'm looking out onto the property, and I've been here for 10 years. Every time I pull in the driveway, I gasp. I cannot believe I live here. I cannot believe this is my life. I'm so filled with gratitude. And something about, though, once I am on camera and somebody else is there, something switches, and like, it is not like, oh, I have to pretend to be this person. It's just like, ooh, I love community. I crave connection and collaboration, and I am just here for it. So there's a softer side. She's sleeping. But as soon as she wakes up, these are bubbles, unless it's not. Like, I'm not pretending to be something,
You're very authentic, Wendy, and it shows. And And people see that and they really respond to it. And you're so receptive to listening to other people's stories. And, that's very appreciated by everyone. And it really does, it comes through. And I think that's your charm, certainly. And I know you continue to work very, very hard. I'm sure you have your challenges, but you've got that adorable daughter. And, the two of you are like a real team. I think of your artist friends at some time, maybe you'll do a coloring book of you and your daughter and their trip to France.
That would be so fun.
Well, there are a lot of artists in your group, and just doing a really sweet little coloring book with the two of you and coloring it in, I think would be really a lot of fun. Be beautiful.
Thank you. That would be so fun. Well, what are you most looking forward to in your month away? I love that you're going with your college roommate. That's beautiful. What are you going to be doing? What prompted you? I mean, I don't think anyone needs a reason to stay there for a month. But I'd love to know your journey.
I've been to Normandy. It's a beautiful place. I wanted to experience, I never had the opportunity to experience living in another country. And I really wanted to just kind of, I've lived the New York life. I've been to Paris many times. I like it. My roommate and I we're going to spend 3 nights in Paris before she goes back. So I'm really just looking forward to the museums, going to some of the chateaus and the beautiful gardens. I'm looking forward to, living and learning from Jane and what she's done with her life. And I'm sure there'll be other women there that I can learn from. I want to be independent to say, use a train, or I'd like to do some of the simple things. We don't have to do all the fancy things, right. And we don't need Michelin star dinners. We like the lunches. We like the little hidden bistros. And we love to walk. She wants to get a facial where Brigitte gets her facials. I mean, she tells me, these creams are called Jesus in a jar.
My.
I think I have to get it, right?
I think we do.
I will I'm going to let you know on that.
Please do.
We love President Macron because he loves older women. And Brigitte turned 70. So, of course, in America, if we were dating a student as a teacher, we'd still be in federal prison. But that's another country. So, nothing like France, right? So I'm going to do some writing. I plan to do that. I've been asked to, we'll probably do an article for the Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority magazine. I've been asked to do some other podcasts that have more of an academic bent to them. I've done a lot of strategic planning. So, we'll see. But I think it's going to be really a wonderful experience. And I'm sure Jane can't wait to see who I'm going to sit with in the Luxembourg chairs. I'm not
practice that story.
So they'll be a lot. They'll be fun. I am going to visit my friend. There's a store I like from a Texas woman. It's called Crimson Cashmere, and it's right Crimson Cashmere. She has a great Instagram, and she does very, age appropriate things without being frumpy. So she's an American woman who's lived there since I think 78. She's been divorced that whole time. She has a couple of beautiful daughters, and she does some very thoughtful Instagrams that are very practical. She's not frumpy. Her style is wonderful. But I think when you look at the Instagram, so much of that is the 30 and 40 something. But there's something about the French Elan with an American twist that's singe, really. So I think if you're in the area and she's on the right bank and it's a little store, just go in there, introduce yourself, get your picture taken with her, and she'll put you on, one of her Instagrams and tell her I'm on my way.
I will.
So there are those wonderful little nicks and crannies. And I'm not going to bring home another copper pan from Delaherne. I have enough, and they're beautiful, and I use them. But I'm sure that I will find a few wonderful things that will be part of the new aesthetic developing in Sag Harbor, New York.
I love that.
You'll come and visit sometime.
I would love to. That would be delightful.
I think you would enjoy it. And I can show you the Hamptons way of life, which is, today, I think everyone from New York City is now out here. So just like that, they're all here.
Yes, that's how it is. Oh my goodness. I have loved this conversation, Rebecca. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear all about your month there. So I would love to connect with you when you come back and just hear all of your beautiful memories and takeaways.
And I will do that meet and greet. It sounds like that is a gem.
It is.
And any other thing you'd like to offer. Do you have a favorite hotel in Paris?
I do. I love Les Abbés. I will send you the link to that.
You know what? You are not the only person. I looked it up again today. It looks wonderful.
Yes.
That could be a great place for Donna and I to stay. So that could be a wonderful tip. It's very well located, isn't it?
Yes. It's in Saint-Germain.
Yes. And I have another friend with an apartment in Saint-Germain.
Oh, well.
She lives in Cambridge, but she's coming in on the 14th. She's the one that took me to the little restaurant at the Place de Vosges that I
wrote that down.
Where I met my friend, Monsieur Levy.
That's perfect.
Wine. Maybe you'll meet somebody like that. If not there, someplace else.
Most certainly. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
It's been fun.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.